All right, y'all, get your asses in here, bro. Get your asses in here. We ain't wasting no time. We have a lot to talk about, bro. Woo! What a fucking night. Oh, what up, Casey? I'll give you guys a couple seconds, man. You know, gotta give myself a chance. You know, just take a sec to breathe, man. Like, wow, what a crazy night. Let me open up the window in here. Let me open up the window. All right, good. You guys can hear me, but, man, how we doing, everyone? How we doing? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that ending to All Out, man. AEW. Let me make sure everything's all good. That you guys, I'm in focus, man. But we have a lot to talk about. Let me just zoom out just a little bit. All right, that looks good. All right, I didn't want to waste any time. I had everything. I had the layout. I had the stream. I had everything all set up so that as soon as AEW All Out would conclude, I could get right to live stream, man. Cause man, oh man, and this is crazy. This is our first AEW pay-per-view review. So wow. But all right, let's get started. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitz TV here, aka G-Lawn33. I am back here today with another episode of the Legit Shoot podcast. Here tonight with your AEW All Out 2021 full show review and results. And man, what a show. What a show. And I want to thank you guys for joining me here on the podcast. Excuse me. This is our first ever AEW review for a pay-per-view. We did a couple AEW reviews back when Dynamite first began, but for those of you guys who have been subscribed to me for any amount of time, you guys know I mainly cover just WWE. But I did make this announcement back when CM Punk debuted about close to a month ago that I wanted to cover AEW a little more frequently on the channel, and that's what we're doing. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm a full AEW fan because I'm not. I'm gonna be honest for you guys. Some of you guys are listening to me for the first time, and I'll be honest. I was not a huge AEW fan, especially at the beginning, but I have come around on AEW, and I'll say exactly what I said a couple weeks ago when we were talking about CM Punk. AEW is not the alternative to WWE. Now, for real wrestling fans, WWE has become the alternative to AEW. Because when you look at the creative from WWE and AEW, it's two different things. WWE is more focused on financials and, you know, being entertaining, even though WWE fails a lot when it comes to trying to be entertaining. But AEW, they're mainly focused on putting on a great wrestling product, right? Building up characters, building up storylines, give you big-time matches. And I got to give AEW credit where credit is due. This was a fantastic show. This was great. You know, you had epic returns. You had great matches. You had title changes. That crowd in Chicago was amazing. And, you know, I can't sit here and deny. I can't sit here and defend WWE because WWE put themselves in the position that they're in. All right? WWE made their bed. Right? Vince McMahon for years has been out of touch. And you can see that with the way Raw is produced. SmackDown is, okay, decent a lot of the times. But you see with the way the main roster is produced. And now with Vince and Bruce Pritchard taking over NXT, that's even more clear. That's more clear than ever. Vince, you know, as great as Vince McMahon has been for wrestling, especially for what he did in the Attitude Era, the 90s and the early 2000s, now we're in 2021. This is a new age of wrestling. What Vince did in the past no longer really applies here in 2021. It's time for a change. But he'll never get back to where he once was. But he feels that because he had so much success in the past that he can still do it now. And he refuses to understand that it's time for a change. And with every single day that he continues to be in control of WWE, especially from a creative standpoint, he's putting that company's future more in jeopardy. You know, taking control of NXT is legit the death of NXT. It's not just a saying for people to say on YouTube to get views. It's facts. NXT will never be the same as long as Vince is in charge. Like, NXT will never get back to where it once was with Triple H gone and Vince in charge. That's just facts. And you see all the talent from NXT, from the main roster, that is now moving to AEW. There's a reason for that. Because they see what we're seeing. We're seeing that AEW has a completely different focus than WWE. AEW may never surpass WWE when it comes to financials and things like that, because WWE is known worldwide. No matter how good or bad WWE is, it's known worldwide. And they're always going to be on top when it comes to partnerships and sponsorships and deals and all these other things. WWE's future, when it comes to a financial standpoint, it's not really in jeopardy. And that's going to keep WWE around for years and years to come. But real wrestling fans who know what wrestling is supposed to be, they're the ones that are now watching AEW. And that's what made that so enjoyable. It was a spectacle. It was about professional wrestling. And you know, now I'm sitting here and, you know, 2 years ago, if you would have said I would be here doing AEW reviews, I would have been like, not really. Because honestly, I didn't really take AEW all that seriously a couple years ago. I knew it had potential to be something big, but I was just like, we'll see. You know, WWE's always going to be on top. But now, here we are in 2021. I can no longer say what I said 2 years ago. AEW is the number one company in professional wrestling from a wrestling standpoint. Their focus, the way they do things, is completely different than what WWE does. And I want to see WWE succeed. I am a WWE fan at heart. But I'm not going to sit here and deny that what AEW is doing right now isn't right. I can't deny. I can't sit here and, you know, come say that bullcrap. AEW is doing what they need to do. And, you know, with them bringing in more and more stars by the day, that's just proof. It's just that simple. You know? You had CM Punk make his return tonight after 7 years. 7 long years. Right? And it was everything we expected and more. You know, and we'll talk a little more in detail about CM Punk and the actual match with Darby Allen. But CM Punk being back in professional wrestling and him returning tonight was fantastic. It was great. And then you had the main event, right, with Christian and Kenny Omega. Great match, but we're all talking about what happened after the match. Adam Cole, just 2 days. Remember, just 2 days ago, he was signed to WWE. He was signed. He was negotiating a new contract with WWE. And, you know, we heard all the reports that the main reason why he didn't go to the main roster was because, you know, WWE didn't want to let him have his Twitch channel back, which is absolutely stupid, right? Which is one of the things that I'm talking about, how dumb WWE is and how out of touch Vince is. You let one of the best wrestlers in the world go over a video game channel. Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? A video game channel. Come on. And now, 2 days later, he is in AEW. That's just crazy to me. That is absolutely insane to me. How things change that quickly. Right? The guy was in WWE 2 days ago. He wrestled at the NXT TakeOver pay-per-view 2 weeks ago. And now he's with AEW 2 weeks later. You know what's wild is, if you go to WWE's website right now, you go to the active roster, Adam Cole's name is still listed. He's still listed as an active WWE superstar. His merch is still being sold in the WWE shop. I'm looking at it. I'm searching it up right now. You know, he just debuted in AEW less than 20 minutes ago, and his merch is still being shown in the WWE shop. And then now Daniel Bryan, you know, now known as Bryan Danielson, he made his debut in AEW tonight as well. And we all knew it was going to happen sooner rather than later. No matter if it was the big AEW New York show coming up or it was going to be All Out tonight, we knew it was going to happen sooner rather than later. And now he's in AEW. There's a reason why all these superstars are flocking to AEW. Ruby Riott, right? You know, now her name in AEW is Ruby Show, but, you know, Ruby was in WWE a couple months ago. Now she's in AEW, and now she's the number one contender for the AEW Women's Championship after winning the Casino Battle Royal tonight. It's just insane to me how things work in this wrestling business. And, you know, seeing all these big debuts tonight just shows that the winds are changing. And I can't deny how, you know, how big AEW is getting. I can't. They have become the new number one in professional wrestling. And if I'm saying that, you know, you guys should be saying it as well. Because I'm a WWE fan at heart. You know, I'm getting more and more into the AEW product, you know, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. But at the end of the day, I'm a WWE fan at heart. But I can't sit here and deny that AEW isn't changing the game completely. You know, the big issue I would say with all the talent that AEW has is how do you book them? How do you book them? Because there is so much high-end talent in AEW that I don't know. You could look at almost all the big names that AEW has on their roster, all the big additions they've made, right? From CM Punk to Bryan Danielson to Adam Cole. You have all these big names. And you sit there, you're like, oh, you can say all of them deserve to be world champions. All of them deserve to be world champions. And I don't know how, you know, you're going to book them. Tony Khan has all this money to throw at them and sign them. But I don't know how you book them all because all of them deserve to be in that world title picture. And there can only be one champion. So I don't know, you know, how AEW is going to manage all that high-end talent. I don't. And we know there's probably even more on the way. You never know. Braun Strowman could end up in AEW. Bray Wyatt could end up in AEW. You know, we know that more and more talent's going to be on the way eventually. So I don't know how you manage it all. That's the big thing I would, you know, the big problem, the big concern I would have coming out of this pay-per-view. I don't know how you book all that talent. But the fact that AEW has all this talent, and a lot of that talent is coming from WWE to AEW, shows how the winds are changing, right? And the game is being changed. The game is being changed. So, man, oh man, AEW's roster is absolutely stacked. Absolutely stacked. And I don't know how you're going to book it all, but it is exciting as a wrestling fan to see all this talent, you know, in one company and see all the potential storylines and matches that can be done. Right? It is absolutely crazy. But, you know, we're going to talk about the big debut tonight, right? Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk's return to the ring, Ruby Soho. So much to talk about. So much to talk about from this show, man. And I want to thank you guys for choosing me for your AEW review. No matter if you guys are watching on the stream right now or if you guys are watching on demand via playback after the stream's over. Thank you guys for joining me here tonight. For those of you guys who are new to the channel, man, make sure to hit that big red button. Make sure you guys subscribe, man, because this is where you guys want to be for all the big wrestling news, right? For those who haven't already, my SmackDown review is live on the channel. We talked a lot about Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, you know, and, you know, where Sasha Banks fits into the puzzle. If she is indeed returning this week for the big SmackDown in Madison Square Garden. We talk about Edge and Seth Rollins. We also talked about Roman Reigns and all the new challengers he had for the Universal Championship, from Big E to Brock Lesnar to the tease of Demon Finn Balor. There's a lot going on with Roman Reigns, so check out that SmackDown review. We had a pretty good episode of SmackDown, so make sure you guys go check that out, man. So we go in depth on that. I am trying to do more AEW reviews. It's just that my schedule is crazy. I want to review Dynamite on a weekly basis along with doing Raw and SmackDown. It's a lot. It's not easy, doing 1 to 2 hour podcasts, multiple times a week. It's not. It's very, very tiring. Plus with my work schedule, it's kind of crazy, but I'm doing my best. So I'm hoping to do a Dynamite review this weekend, this Wednesday. But still, thank you guys for joining me here either way. Thank you guys for understanding, my schedule is kind of crazy. So when I am able to stream, when I am able to get these videos out, man, thank you guys for the support on that. But anyway, man, what a show. What a show All Out was. So much talk about, so many different directions for AEW to go. There's so many matches, so many storylines, so much that can happen. It's insane if you ask me. It really is. So give me a second just to give me a second to pull up my notes. But this show was great tonight. Make sure you guys in the chat let me know your thoughts. I am always looking in the stream. You guys, super chats are open. I never ask you guys to donate. I always make sure let you guys make that decision. But everything that you guys do give to the channel, I do put it back in, because without you guys, man, I wouldn't be in this position. All right, but yeah. Oh, I just saw AEW on their Twitter just 8 minutes ago. They posted the Adam Cole and the Bryan Danielson All Elite photos, which is great. Oh yeah, how Daniel Bryan with that Brock Lesnar man bun, huh? How about that? Right? How about that? Adam Cole is All Elite, man. That's crazy. In WWE 2 days ago, now he's in AEW. Oof. All right, give me a sec. Let me get my notes all set up. I'll give you guys a chance to say something in the chat if you guys want to before we get into the show. But, oof, this show was crazy tonight, bro. Paul's like, Sasha Banks is All Elite. If that ever happens, that is the day, man, I don't know. But I'll say, what did you guys see that shirt Adam Cole was wearing? Look, I there's one thing I'll say. I wonder really, like, the events of the last couple of days for Adam Cole. I wish there was some kind of like a documentary they would have ready, because I would love to see, like, Thursday, he's still with WWE, right? And I want to see, when did they have the contract negotiations? When did they did the main roster powers ask Adam Cole, like, oh, we want you back, but you can't have your Twitch channel? I would love to know what time Adam Cole said, yeah, if I'm not allowed to have my Twitch channel, man, I'm not staying. Like, that's non-negotiable. I would love to see what were the timeline of events for Adam Cole going from WWE to AEW like that. Because he came out tonight, he had a All Elite Bebe shirt, which I was like, dang, the turnaround time on that shirt, they're probably selling it at the arena as we speak. I would love to see what the turnaround time was, from him deciding he's leaving WWE, right? His contract expiring, I believe it was Friday at midnight, right? 12 o'clock on the dot. I would love to see the turnaround time from his contract expiring to him then going to All Elite, right? Having those contract negotiations, and then him signing his deal, getting his new merch done, right? Getting his music and his graphics all set, and then him appearing at All Out. We do know his, his partner, Britt Baker, she's the AEW Women's Champion, so that probably made things a lot easier. But I'm just fascinated to know what was the timeline of events for all that. Casey says, Sasha Banks tweeted earlier today on Twitter by simply saying 12-star. What is a reference to Bryan Danielson's old theme song? I was hoping we would hear the final countdown sign, you know. But we got the dragon theme, and still, you never know. Look, we don't. I'm willing to bet at some point we'll hear the final countdown because you know. It's going to be, I got to get used to calling him Bryan Danielson instead of Daniel Bryan. I'm going to be honest, I'll probably call him Daniel Bryan most of the time anyway, because you guys know I'm who I'm talking about. But it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how long till he brings that theme song. He's going to use it at some point. All right. You guys are talking about Sasha Banks. Like, you guys know I love talking about Sasha Banks, but she's not in AEW right now. You know, I don't want to spend all this time talking about Sasha Banks on an AEW show. You know, you guys know Paul is trolling, right? You guys Charlotte. He's just joking. We mean Charlotte's the GOAT. He's trolling. Right? You guys coming at Paul for calling Charlotte the GOAT in the chat. That's hilarious. Paul says Daniel Bryan is about to carry AEW. He could carry it. The thing about it is, there's so much high-level talent in AEW now. Like, anybody could carry AEW. Anybody. It's just like, there's so many people that, I don't know what you do with that world title picture. You know what I mean? Because, you know, everyone's saying Hangman Adam Page, right? He should be the guy to take the AEW World Championship from Omega. And, you know, that makes a lot of sense. But there's so much. You have CM Punk, right? You know, we're all gonna eventually want to see CM Punk as world champion. It's gonna happen. You know, it may take a year, maybe a year and a half. But we know CM Punk, he's bound to be AEW World Champion at some point. You know, Bryan Danielson, he can be AEW World Champion. There's so many guys that could be AEW World Champion. I don't know. I don't know, you know, like how you book that. I don't. You know, I'm usually really good when it comes to fantasy booking. I do it all the time on my WWE reviews, but I'm sitting here and I don't know how to book the AEW main event scene. I don't. You have Malachi Black, you know, like MJF, you know, he's a high rising star. Eventually, one day, MJF's going to be AEW World Champion. I'll speak that into existence. I don't know how you book that main event scene, right? Paul says, give Daniel Bryan the AEW title right now. Look, I'm with you on, like, look, I like Adam Hangman Page, but I don't know, part of me wants to see Bryan Danielson as world champion right now. You know, and then give me CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson. You know, I don't know how you book that main event scene. I don't know how you book it. I don't. Like, if you guys give me some ideas in the chat. Give me some ideas in the chat. Because I don't know. And look, I'll be honest with you guys. Because I am a WWE fan who's becoming an AEW fan more and more by the day. But I don't understand all of the characters in AEW. There's a bunch of new wrestlers. I understand most of the old wrestlers, right? But there's a lot of new characters that I'm being exposed to for the first time because I've been watching WWE my whole life. So I'm still in the process of learning, you know, a lot of these new characters and getting to understand, you know, who's the best, who's the mid card, who's the more low level jobbers of that company. I'm still in the process of learning here. So, like, and the thing is, when you're adding more and more talent by day, it becomes much more difficult because you're just like, how do you book all that talent? I talk all the time about how much talent WWE has, right? Talk so much about how much talent WWE has, you know, and we talk about how they're not using their talent. And that's the reason why, you know, so much talent gets released because they want to go to AEW and Impact and all these other companies where they believe they're going to be booked better. But you look at AEW, and yes, AEW is better than WWE from a creative standpoint, but you look at all the talent they have, and you're just like, how the fuck do you book all that talent? How do you do that? I don't know how you do that. Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Andrade, Pac, Kenny Omega, John Moxley, Adam Hangman Page, right? And Darby Allen. The list goes on and on and on. It's such a long list of high level names. I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, almost, Adam Cole. Like, look, more and more names are flooding my mind by the second. I'm just like, everybody that I just named, you could be AEW World Champion right now, and you wouldn't have a problem with it. You would have no complaints about any of those names that I just said being AEW World Champion right now. And I'm missing names from that list. All those names could be AEW World Champion as I speak, and you would not have a single complaint about it. But how do you book all that? How do you book all that? You know? Like, this isn't WWE where you have two main roster shows, right? You know, you have two different world titles. And still, all the time, we're complaining about WWE needing to merge their rosters, right? AEW has one big main show, and then you have, like, Rampage and some of their other stuff. But, everything, is circled around Dynamite, the big main show, and the 4 or 5 pay-per-views they have a year. And, you're saying, you're just like, damn, how do you, how do you manage all that? So it's one thing I would say that's fascinating to me as I grow as an AEW fan. It's fascinating because I don't know how to book all that talent. I don't. But it's so enjoyable to see. So Anthony, my former co-host, he keeps saying fuck WWE. Look, I'm with you there, bro. Like, Vince and all those other dick suckers he has, all those other yes men, like they're just a bunch of idiots. The fact that Vince could let all that high level talent just walk to AEW, and he thinks, and it pisses me off how arrogant Vince is, because Vince thinks, oh, he can just let all that talent walk, and then just believe that, oh, that he's smart enough to keep WWE afloat. He's not. He's a dumbass. Vince is a dumbass. You cannot let all that talent go and just think that your brain alone is going to be able to keep the company going. No, with every high-level name that leaves WWE and signs with AEW, the fan base shifts, right? AEW gains more and more fans by the day. Yes, you may stay at your 2.5 million viewers, right? But AEW is slowly creeping up. Every month, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, right? Their viewership slowly raises as they get more and more high-level talent and people see what AEW is all about. It doesn't matter if WWE's number one from a financial standpoint. AEW is the number one when it comes to professional wrestling and creativity. It's that simple. And as time continues to go on, and AEW becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, people are realizing that. It's that simple. It's that simple. So I agree with you there, Anthony. Fuck WWE, man. Fuck Vince for being that arrogant and thinking that he's good enough just to let talent that good walk. The fact that you let Adam Cole walk to AEW like that, man, And there was a time where I would get pissed off. Seeing high-level talent just go to AEW. But not anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. Because I realize that AEW is the new number one. Right? And, still, I can enjoy watching my favorite talent, my favorite superstars wrestle in AEW. Because AEW treats them more serious than WWE would. It's that simple. I want to see WWE succeed, but with Vince McMahon in charge, that's not going to happen. So why would I rather see my favorite talent suffer in WWE instead of watching them succeed in AEW and become bigger stars and put on greatness? It's that simple. I'm getting so many texts right now. Holy moly. All right. So, anyway. Wesley Jackson says All Out is perhaps the greatest pay-per-view in history. I'm not going to say that. Look, this was a great show, but I'm not, and there was, great, there There was amazing matches. There was great debuts that when we look back at this show years into the future, we're gonna be like, damn, that was a moment in time where the winds changed, right? And AEW really changed the game with that event. But to say this was the greatest pay per view in wrestling history, I'm not gonna say that. Like that's a stretch. That's a stretch. And plus, by if you are saying that, basically every single show that comes after All Out tonight, right? Every single show that comes in the future, people are gonna be comparing that show in the future to this show. And it's not. This was a great show, but it was not the best show in history. I feel like some of you guys are just jumping to conclusions just because of how good some of the moments we got from this show was. Okay. Some of you guys are saying WrestleMania X7. Look, I'm not gonna get into that debate, right? You guys have your own opinion, but I would just say slow down on the people saying this was the greatest show ever. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's look in the chat real quick. Yep, Casey, I completely agree with you. It's impossible to fantasy book the main event scene in AEW. It truly is. Like I can do it in WWE with the snap of my finger, but AEW, man, I can't. As Anthony, I don't know if Anthony's in the chat, man. Like Anthony, and me and Anthony, we were the fantasy booking kings back in the day. I don't think Anthony could book the main event scene either. And some of you guys got to fix your grammar. I don't know what the hell some of y'all in the chat saying. Anyway, let's get into the actual show. There was a lot of matches, all right, and I'm not gonna go out over the pre-show. I'm like, no, I'm not, that's not my thing. All right, that's not my thing. But anyway, so the show opened up with God's favorite champion, right? Miro, Rusev, Miro, whatever you want to call him, but Miro, right? Miro versus Eddie Kingston for the TNT title. And man, I love Eddie Kingston's line, "Redeem these nuts." And then Miro on Twitter, right? After this match, he tweeted, "Your nuts have been redeemed." So that was hilarious. That was hilarious. But this was a good match to open the show, right? And I know some people were kind of unhappy that Eddie Kingston didn't win here, but the thing is, Miro has been fantastic in AEW. I love his gimmick, and look, there's still so many great matches you can do with him as TNT champion, you know, and this is just gonna make him to a bigger star the longer he holds on to that title. So, I have no problem with Miro retaining here. The guy's great, and you want to make this guy look like a star. You want to make him look like a star. So, uh, so these two went after each other early and often in this match. Miro attacked Kingston from the outside. Miro did you went for the game on submission finisher, but Kingston fought to the ropes. So then we saw the referee, and look, there are times where AEW makes their referees look kind of dumb. So we saw the referee here. He removed the turnbuckle pad from the ring, but when he was, removing the turnbuckle, all of a sudden he missed a DDT and several seconds of a pinfall attempt by Eddie Kingston. So Eddie kind of won the match. If the referee was paying attention, Eddie would have won and, became the new TNT champion. But, the referee was not paying attention. And I hate those little moments where the referees look like dumbasses. But then we saw the referee prevent Kingston from throwing Miro into the exposed turnbuckle. But because of that, Miro was able to sneak in a low blow and then scored a victory with a Machka kick. So basically, of course, Miro, right? I'm so used to calling these guys by their WWE names, so you guys gonna have to forgive me because that is something I do. I will call a lot of AEW superstars by their WWE names, but Uh, Miro wins with the Machka kick and retains his title against Eddie Kingston. This was great. This was great. Really good way to open up the show. Miro continues his dominance. And one thing that I usually do a lot of my WWE reviews is right away I will start booking like who should be built up to take that title from them. Look, I'm gonna say this right now for those of you, and this goes for old subscribers and new subscribers. I'm gonna be doing AEW reviews different than how I would do a WWE review, because I'm not gonna sit here and sometimes I'm gonna try to fantasy book who Miro should lose that championship to, because there's just too much talent in AEW just to pick one person. I know AEW has their ranking system, and they usually go heavily on the win-loss record. But there's just so many names and so many people that you could say deserve to be champion that it's just too easy. It's just too easy just to pick one name. There's many people that Miro could lose that championship to. So I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy. I'll give my thoughts on potential challengers here and there, but for right now, I don't really have any names right now. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy the dominance of Miro, man. Like, this gimmick is amazing. I love this gimmick. This is way better than any gimmick he had in WWE. Like, I love the gimmick. It's great in my opinion. All right, it's great in my opinion. So I saw someone in the chat did ask if I saw Lana's tweet. Bro, this tweet actually hilarious. So like I said, I mentioned a couple minutes ago how Miro said, "Ask and you shall receive." Right, your nuts have been redeemed. Right. So Lana, you guys know Lana and Miro are married in real life. So Lana says, "I'll redeem yours when you get home." So basically, Miro's gonna get a nice reward from his wife when he gets home. "I'll redeem yours when you get home." That, like, damn. That, look, damn. Like, that's that. I gotta give Lana credit here. That line is hard, bro. Like, imagine your wife saying that to you, or your partner or whatever, texting you that. You just see it on your social media. You turn on your phone, and your wife said, "I'll redeem your nuts when you get home." Golly, oh my gosh, Catman, I'll redeem yours. Wait, Casey says Miro about to get some poo-tang pie. Huh. Thing is, man, I'm surprised Lana hasn't showed up in AEW. I'm not saying Lana is good enough to be AEW Women's Champion. No, of course not. Of course not. But I am kind of surprised that she hasn't showed up in AEW yet. She would be another name in that women's division, but it was like, her husband's already in there, and I'm guessing she wants to continue wrestling. So I'm surprised he hasn't showed up in AEW yet, but we'll see. But this was a good way to open up the show. Next up, we had Jon Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima, right? And this wasn't really a storyline match. This match was more of a dream match, really. This was when you have those big matches on shows that really aren't storyline driven. It's more about, two stars. It's just going at it in the ring. This is a dream match for many. This is a star showcase match, right? And we know Jon Moxley, he's not AEW World Champion anymore, right? And I'm going to be honest, Moxley might never be AEW World Champion. There's just too many superstars that you could say, Moxley had a great title reign. Great. He held that title for nearly a year. And, he did what he had to do. He may not be AEW World Champion ever again, just because there's just way too many people, that are in that main event scene. But and we know that he has his New Japan contract, right? He's allowed to work with people with New Japan. I believe he won another title earlier this week. I believe he won a title from another Japanese company. So clearly, he's busy defending other titles. But, uh, basically the whole thing is Moxie's looking for a fight. That's the whole thing. It doesn't matter if he's champion or not. He's always looking for a fight. And Moxley, he sent an open contract to Japan looking for competition. And he got Kojima here. So this was more of a show, a showcase match, really. A star showcase, right? Dream match. And this was a fight. And, Eddie Kingston, John Moxley, you know what those two are about. What else were you expecting, right? So we know they went after each other's chest. Their chest was shining red like apples. And we saw Kojima deliver a big superplex and fall with a DDT on the ring apron. And we saw Mox, he used a cross arm breaker. Kojima rocked him with a lariat. Kojima did more chops to the chest, but Moxley shook him up. Then he did multiple paradigm shifts, or dirty deeds, whatever you want to call it. He did multiple paradigm shifts for the win. All right, but after the match, we saw Miro Suzuki, one of the most brutal Japanese superstars of all time, make his debut. He went face-to-face with Moxley. The crowd absolutely erupted for this, and then, they started going after each other. But Suzuki caught him with a rear naked choke and then transitioned this into a pile driver to close things out. So this was great, right? This was great. Like, this wasn't about storyline, even though if you want, you can kind of make it about storyline because Moxley is always going at it with the Japanese wrestlers, especially those from New Japan. But the match itself, it was great, hard-hitting action. These first two matches to start the show, just physical, fights. Love it. Really good action to start the show. And, of course, with Suzuki making his debut, that was great. The crowd erupted for that. I'll be honest, I'm not as knowledgeable when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling because I didn't really watch it too much growing up. One of my friends, Danny, you guys may know him as Geekdom 101, he's been showing us in our Discord server a lot more of New Japan Pro Wrestling content, so I am trying to understand more of the history of how good New Japan is. But I do know who Suzuki is. And his debut tonight was great. And it's good. I love how he's going up against Moxley. Like, that's awesome, right? And they did announce later in the show that this week for Dynamite, I think they labeled it as a homecoming match, if I'm correct. You are going to get Moxley and Suzuki on Dynamite. So that could be the main event easily. Or it could open the show. We'll see what happens. But I expect that to be an awesome, awesome fight, and I'm excited for that. So I like how Mox, right now is just going at it with these Japanese legends. I love it. Love it. So good stuff there. So these first two matches to open the show, really, really good. Juggernaut097 says, AEW will probably be the reason why I don't watch WWE on a weekly basis, because WWE doing all the stupid decisions, AEW is so much better. And all right, thank you, Juggernaut, for so Moxley won the game changer wrestling title. So that was the title that he won. But like I said, Juggernaut, I agree with you. And let me pull up a tweet that my boy JDE sent me. Right, JD said, let me see where it is. He said, AEW is made for people like us. We both still love WWE at the heart, but they're not realizing how they treat their stars and their future. It's awful and honestly hurts, while AEW just makes you get hype. That's the best way to describe it. Like I said, and I believe Juggernaut, I see what you're saying. I'm seeing what JD's saying, right? I'm a WWE fan at heart, and I will always be a WWE fan, and I will always want to see WWE succeed. But when I see what Vince McMahon is doing, he's not realizing that he is damaging the future of his company more and more the longer he stays in power. He's just not good at making decisions anymore. Not good at making decisions at all. And he has to go. And I want to see WWE succeed, but Vince McMahon will legit be the death of WWE the longer he stays in power. AEW, the way they treat their stars is completely different than what WWE does. And it's more enjoyable to watch AEW now from a wrestling standpoint because they understand what good wrestling is. And Vince doesn't anymore. It's that simple. I'll always want WWE to be number one. But I realize that they're not number one anymore. Because they just don't understand. They don't understand how to book their talent. So, really good way to start the show. So, next up, we had the Women's Championship match. Chris Statlander versus Dr. Baker DMD, right? And you guys know, man, I love Britt Baker. Love Britt Baker. I've become a big fan of hers. And, like every time I watch a Britt Baker match like I saw tonight, I keep thinking of a potential dream match with her and Sasha Banks. You guys know Sasha Banks is my number one, And look, I would not be surprised, and I know this is still 2 years away. I would not be surprised if Sasha was to leave WWE and to go to AEW in 2 years. And I know that's a long ways away, but I would not be surprised. Sasha's always kind of dropping those little teases of matches she would love to have with some AEW stars. And look, even though she is one of WWE's biggest stars, I would not be surprised if she was to leave that company to go to AEW one day, right? I never thought that Daniel Bryan would leave WWE. And he just made his debut in AEW tonight. I could definitely see Sasha Banks doing the same thing that Daniel Bryan just did. But we'll see. But man, I get very, very, very excited thinking about a potential match with Sasha Banks and Britt Baker. But anyway, so we had this match for the AEW Women's Championship, right? And we saw Rebel and Jamie Hartler. They accompanied Baker to the ring, but we saw Orange Cassidy, who had a match earlier in the night, and they're on the pre-show, accompany Statlander. So we saw Statlander. She overwhelmed Britt early with her strength and size, but then Baker took control here, working over the center of the ring. We saw Statlander then fight back and brought Baker crashing to the mat with a devastating suplex. She attempted the Area 451 splash, but then came up empty. So then Baker did a stomp on the stairs, which looked absolutely brutal. And then all of a sudden, Orange Cassidy, he's known for not showing much emotion. All of a sudden, Cassidy takes off the shades and he starts yelling at Sam like, "Get up! Get up! What are you doing? Get back in there." Which was kind of cool to see. It played along perfectly with the story of this match. So Statlander got back into the ring, then went on the attack, right? But then Baker did a beautiful Pittsburgh Sunrise, definitely paying homage to her partner Adam Cole, who of course we know showed up later in the night. Baker delivered the Pittsburgh Sunrise and then added the stomp and then ended the match with the lockjaw submission as she successfully retained her women's championship. This was a good match, and Baker, even though the fans cheer her like she's a babyface, she still is a heel. So it was good to see Baker win this match clean. Right, because as a heel, usually she always has some kind of interference. But it was good to see this match. It was good to see Baker win this match clean because she's won so many matches with Rebel that seeing her win without their help was great, right? And Britt Baker, she's evolving into one of the biggest women's stars in professional wrestling. Like, she's not better than Sasha Banks or Asuka or Bayley. Like, let's get that straight. I just want to make clear, right? As great as Britt Baker is, she's not as great as those names yet. But she is becoming better and better and better. She has the confidence. She has the in-ring game to back it up. She's very charismatic. She has everything needed to be a huge star in this business. And she's getting more and more confident and growing more and more every time we see her in the ring. So, and remember, she's still, I don't see her losing that title anytime soon, right? So it was good to see her. It's great to see her evolve as a performer because she's just going to get better and better the longer that she continues to wrestle. And this, for Statlander, this was probably her best match And it's funny. I look into the chat. And I see Danny. I see Geekdom 101. He says Sasha Banks is better than the entire AEW wrestler or AEW roster combined. And Paul says, of course, Paul with his trolling ass says, so never be better than Charlotte. Of course not. Of course not. Right? Charlotte's the GOAT. Fuck out of here with that shit, bro. But it really is good to see Britt Baker continue to evolve as a champion and as a performer. And Statlander, based on what I've seen of her at AEW, this was a great match out of her. So this was a really good women's championship match. We did have the Casino Battle Royal, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but this was a good match. All right, this was really good. And Danny, I agree with you. Of course, Sasha Banks is the best female wrestler in the world. And like I said, I don't want to make this too much about Sasha, but that's obvious to me. Come on, that's obvious. Sasha is the best female wrestler in the world. I don't care about Becky. I don't care about Bianca. I don't care about Asuka. I love Bayley, but there's nobody in AEW, nobody in WWE. There is nobody in the world right now that is better than Sasha Banks when it comes to women's wrestling. That's just my opinion, right? And I will die by that statement. All right. Juggernaut says, I can't wait to see Britt and Thunder Rosa main event on pay-per-view in the future. That's going to be a fantastic match. I completely agree with you. But, we're getting Britt Baker and freaking Ruby coming up here. That's also exciting as well. And like I said, as Britt continues to evolve as a performer and she has bigger and bigger matches, it's good. It's just great to see her evolve, and she's just going to become more and more of a star. But this was a good match, right? And we already have, like I just said, we already have Britt's next challenger already lined up. But we'll talk about that. But before we have, and give me a sec real quick. I got to read this quick text message. Hold up. Yeah, it's possible for Eddie. What the fuck? It's possible for any other performer. All right, anyway, sorry. I had to read that. But anyway, next up, before we talk about the Casino Battle Royal, we got to talk about the Steel Cage match for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And I'll say this. This was the best tag team match of this year. Now, I'm as excited as I am for the Street Profits and the Usos going on in WWE for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, you're not going to get a match this year from anybody else that will overshadow this match. This was the tag team match of the year. Some people are going to say this is the match of the year for all professional wrestling. And if you want to say that, look, you can have it, right? When we get to the end of the year, we'll discuss that. I gotta look back at all the wrestling that we have, but there's not going to be a tag team match in all professional wrestling that overshadows this match. No, this match was fucking insane. And I do remember watching these two go at it at All Out a couple years ago, back when AEW was just a baby, right? Just a baby, and it was crazy. And, the hype for this match was, out the roof. And I knew it was going to be a great match just because these two teams have fantastic chemistry with one another. But I did not expect what we got here. You guys know I am not the biggest fan of the Young Bucks. I've never been a big fan of the Young Bucks. But I will give them credit where credit is deserved. They are great in the ring. They are one of the best tag teams in the world. One of the best in the world. And even though I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks and their work really, but I will not sit here and deny that they're not great at what they do, right? I'm not gonna sit here and deny. Like, they are great in the ring, and they show that tonight. Like them, hate them, no matter what. They are great at what they do. And man, what a match this was. So the Lucha Bros entered the Now Arena to Pump and Circumstance, right? This entrance was fucking insane. The crowd singing along, this was great. And then this was the first time their theme song had been performed live. We saw the Bucks enter, of course, as the champions. Having that heel confidence that they've had throughout their entire reign. And they didn't have the Good Brothers or Cutler and Callis with them because of the stipulation. But that didn't keep them, of course, from getting involved in the match, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But, this match was, of course, like just as we expected. The commentary team hyped it up. They were just like, ladies and gentlemen, we're probably preparing ourselves for the best tag team match of the year. And usually, sometimes commentary oversells it, but they did not oversell it. We knew we were about to watch greatness with this match happening. We just didn't expect it to be that great. This was insane. The action was fast. They went at each other. And usually, I'm not the biggest fan of steel cage stipulation just because, like, steel cage, like, what are you going to do with a steel cage? You know what I mean? Like, let me see this text. Like, what are you going to do with a steel cage? There's only so much that you can do with a steel cage match, right? But still, the Bucks dominated the first part of the match. The Bucks dominated. It was kind of one-sided. As fast as the action was, the Bucks were very, very dominant here in the beginning here, and we saw the Bucks, playing the heel characters to perfection, right? Ripping at the mask, and we saw the Lucha Bros. They were bleeding everywhere, and then we saw that they brought in, what I'm gonna call them the thumbtack ones, right? The thumbtack ones. We saw that they got thrown these special shoes, and basically it was Air Jordan 1 retro ones with thumbtacks at the bottom. I think you saw one of the Young Bucks. I think it was Nick. He licked the thumbtacks. I was like, ew. I was like, what the fuck? Like crazy. But he licked he licked the bottom of the shoe with the thumbtacks before putting it on. And then they started hitting super kicks on the Lucha Bros. And at first I was like, this match has to be over. This is like, there's no way you're getting hit with super kicks with fucking thumbtacks on the end of the shoes. I'm just like no, there's no way. This doesn't make any sense to me, And I was surprised. That the match continued. I was like, what the fuck? And then at first, my WWE mindset kind of came into play, just a little bit. I'll be honest. My WWE mindset came into play because I was like, wait a minute. I was like, first of all, I don't care, I don't care. You're not going to make me believe. It's not, I understand it's professional wrestling, but I was like, it's not believable that someone can get hit with thumbtacks, right? Especially super kicks, right? It's not believable that someone can get hit with super kicks and then be able to continue. I was like, no, like, no, that's bullcrap. I don't care if it's adrenaline. I don't care what the hell it is. I don't care if you're on steroids or not. It's just not believable that you're gonna be able to come back and win a match after being hit with super kicks with thumbtacks at the other end of the shoe. But still, I had to block out that WWE mindset from a sec, because from here on the match was absolutely insane. So we saw when we thought the match was over, the Lucha Bros continued to kick out, and they were blood everywhere. It was bloody and battered. We saw Phoenix mounted a comeback, dissing Matt and Nick with some of their own medicine by hitting them with the tacks, right? They took the shoe off them and then started hitting them with the with the thumbtacks. But then we saw Penta and Matt. They had a stereo package power drivers on the ring apron. And there we saw Penta deliver an avalanche destroyer, which was insane. Like, this was a beautiful Canadian destroyer. I was like, holy shit! Because one, you sell it the wrong way, you're breaking your neck. You're gonna be paralyzed. So at first I was like, what the fuck? But the Canadian destroyer, maybe probably I think that was probably my favorite spot of the match. But still, that was the end. We saw the challengers. We saw the Lucha Bros. They delivered the Fear Factor for a near fall, and Matt barely was able to break up the pin. Then Phoenix climbs to the top of the cage. Nick tried to join him, but then he got thrown off it. Credit to Nick for taking that bump. Like, ooh. And then Phoenix did a crossbody from the top of the cage, and then Penta did the spike power driver on Nick for the win. And the pop from the crowd, man. The pop from the crowd after they won the titles, maybe the best pop for a title victory all year. Like that, I wasn't expecting the pop to be that great. Like, I knew it was gonna be good. And first off, I didn't even expect the Lucha Bros to win this match. I thought the Young Bucks were gonna win. They were gonna get payback for on the Lucha Bros, further get their win back from AEW All Out 2019. But that just made this finish even better. The fact that I didn't expect the Lucha Bros to win made their win that much better, because it made sense. It was fantastic. I'm not saying the Lucha Bros didn't deserve to win the titles. They clearly did. I just didn't expect them to win. I just thought the Young Bucks were gonna hold those titles just a little bit longer, but still, this was great. This was fantastic. That pop from the crowd at the end of the match was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. There's not much else I can say about it. It was a great pop, and the match lived up to the hype and more. And this was easily, there's not going to be a tag team match this year that lives up to that. You're not going to find you're not going to get a better tag team match from AEW, from WWE. You're not going to get anything better than what we saw here tonight. Nothing. But still, this was a great match. This was a fantastic match. What else am I saying? Like, there's not much else I can say. There is not much else I can say. This was great. This was great. And look, the Young Bucks will probably regain those titles at some point. I'm not saying right now, but the Young Bucks are definitely going to win those titles again sometime in the future. It's the Young Bucks, right? They'll win those titles again in the future, but for now, it's the Lucha Bros time. I saw on Twitter after the match that that why is it hold on, let me find the tweet. I'm forgetting their names. I think the tag team from the Inner Circle. I'm forgetting their names. What? I think it was what is it? Ortiz and give me 1 sec. Hold up. Give me one. Let me find the tweet. Yeah, Santana. Santana said, "Enjoy, my brothers. Enjoy it." So Santana and Ortiz versus the Lucha Bros. I would love to see it. It's kind of crazy to me to think that Santana Ortiz, especially since they've been in the Inner Circle since the beginning of AEW, the fact that they haven't won those titles back, or not won those titles at all. Sorry, excuse me. The fact that they haven't won those titles at all, not once, it is crazy to me. It is crazy to me. So, if Santana and Ortiz are built up, they just beat the FTR last Wednesday on Dynamite. If they are the team to take those titles eventually from the Lucha Bros, I would have no problem with them. Even though they are a babyface tag team, right? Santana Ortiz being tag champs would be, amazing. So us getting those little small seeds of Santana Ortiz versus the Lucha Bros, you know, definitely that's something to pay attention to. Uh, we'll have to see if that's the direction for the AEW tag titles going forward. But still, this was the AEW tag team division is the best tag team division in all pro wrestling. I feel like you guys already know that. You don't need me to say that out loud. But either way, man, this was a great match. Great stuff here. They're not gonna get a tag team match better than what we saw with this match all year. They're not gonna get a better match, but definitely, man, absolutely insane, absolutely insane. The Lucha Brothers are great. As much as I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks, they're great. This was a great match. And definitely probably the best. This is easily the best match of the show, best match of the year in the tag team division. You're not gonna get anything better than that. This was fantastic. I can't really say anything else. This was great, and we'll see what happens and who's first in line to challenge the Lucha Bros for the AEW tag titles going forward. JD's live. Is he streaming? Is he streaming from the?
In this job is when my family gets to be here as well because they're such a huge support system. So it was amazing, so amazing.
So he's backstage. He's backstage. They're doing like Adam Cole and Tony Khan interview right now. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And the thing is, he's not even doing his review yet. So woo.
Into the ring with number one is the gentleman that I kicked tonight, and that's Jungle Boy. He is a incredibly talented young.
I talked to him today. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm just checking out JD's thing real quick.
Do I get to pick who asks me questions? No. Oh my God. Be like, yeah, no.
So yeah, they did CM Punk. Of course So yeah. The Lucha Bros.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
And then Ruby. And right now you have Cole. And then he's gonna have Bryan Danielson next.
I love pro wrestling, but you can't help but be more excited and more ready to go and more fired up when you're around Tony. I feel like I can go and talk to Tony about anything.
Dang, and Adam Cole talking about Tony Khan. Oof. And some people are going to take that as a shot at Vince McMahon, but fuck Vince. Honestly, fuck Vince, man. Like, guy's out of touch. Like, no, fuck you, Vince. Casey says, Casey said it's up there with Omega and Page versus the Young Bucks from Revolution last year. Hardy versus ENC. Versus Dudley's Hardy's versus Edge and Christian versus Dudley's trilogy, and DIY versus the Revival. Yeah, ooh, you might be right. You might be right. It's definitely one of the craziest tag team matches I've seen in recent memory. And then Juggernaut giving us the stats. Yep, they are undefeated against the Bucks at this pay-per-view. You are right about that. All right, okay, so yeah, like I said, there's nothing else really I can say to do justice. If you guys did not see that match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros, you gotta go. I don't know how you guys are gonna find it, but go watch it. Go watch it, man. It's one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. Like that was insane, absolutely insane, fucking incredible between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. That was crazy. That was crazy. All right, moving on. Next up, we had the Casino Battle Royal, where, of course, the winner would receive a shot at the AEW Women's World Championship. This is kind of, like the Royal Rumble. the one thing that's like, well, somebody in our Discord server was talking about is that it's interesting, because the way AEW has it, they have 4 to 5 pay-per-views a year, right? It's interesting. Someone was like, is All Out supposed to be AEW's version of the Royal Rumble? I don't know, because like I said, I don't understand everything about AEW yet. But it is definitely, if anybody in the chat wants to take a swing and give their opinion on that, I don't know. But still, look, and I will say this was supposed to be like the cooldown match, because there was no way you were gonna put MJF and Jericho or Punk and Darby Allen on. There was no way you were gonna put one of those matches on before or after that match. There's as great as the rest of the card look, because there was still so much to look forward to with the end of the show. Excuse me. There was no way you were gonna find anything. There was no way you were gonna find anything that was gonna be able to follow that. That was the best match of the show. There was gonna be nothing that compared to it. And it kind of would have, hurt the rest of the show if you had put on Jericho and MJF or Punk and Darby Allen on afterwards. So this was supposed to be a cooldown match, but it didn't even feel really like a cooldown match. This Battle Royal was actually pretty fun. And when was the last time outside of the Royal Rumble that you could say that WWE had a Battle Royal that you enjoyed? I don't know. I can't tell you the last Battle Royal outside of the Royal Rumble that was enjoyable for me. So this was actually really fun, and this was a women's Battle Royal, true, right? And I do like how the AEW makes their Battle Royals a little bit different with the whole entries, like with the clubs and the diamonds, the hearts, the spades, and the Joker, right? So I'm gonna move a little bit along here towards the little bit of the end. I love Jade. I love Jade Cargill. She's one of my favorites. In AEW. I like if Britt Breaker's the number one. I love Jade, and I love the potential that she has. Like, definitely, I talk this all the time. I feel like Jade has the potential to be a future AEW Women's Champion. She gets better every time I see her in the ring. I absolutely love Jade Cargill. I love her. So Jade Cargill came in, and she was, eliminating people left and right. She did a gorilla press slam, to eliminate, Herschel. And she went at it with Red Velvet. But then we had the Joker. And you knew that the Joker was probably going to be the big debut of somebody. So when it was Ruby Soho, the one that came out, I wasn't surprised at all. I didn't jump out of my seat. I didn't go like, oh my gosh. I wasn't surprised. Because it was kind of obvious that Ruby was probably going to end up in AEW. And I was happy for her. I tweeted it out right away. I'm happy to see Ruby smile. Because how many times did you get to see Ruby actually smile in WWE? Not many. Not many. And if you go on Twitter and you saw, there was so many people from the WWE Women's Division. Like Tegan Nox, Shotzi Blackheart, Liv Morgan, right? So many superstars from WWE's Women's Division. They were so happy to see the smile on Ruby's face because they know how passionate she is about wrestling, right? And WWE never let her, really show the world how great she is. Never. They never did. Never did. And it's a shame. Back when Ruby was in WWE, I talked about it on some pay-per-views, or some reviews. I talked about how if you look at Ruby back when she was in NXT, back when NXT was great, right? She had everything needed to be a women's champion, and WWE never let her get there. The fact that she never even won the women's tag championships over all the time that she was with the Riot Squad with Liv Morgan, the fact that she never won a singles women's title in WWE is a shame. She had all the potential to be a huge women's star. And I know, yes, she was there at the time where the 4 horsewomen were there and Ronda was there and Asuka, right? And yes, those are always going to be the stars. But the fact that WWE really never used her to her full potential, it was just like, wow. And when she got released, I was like, damn, I felt bad for her. But now, I'm seeing her in AEW tonight, and it's like she's been reborn. The smile on her face, the emotions of how happy she was, I was like, this is great. I was so happy to see her smiling, because you never really got to see her, be like that in WWE, because WWE never allowed her to be happy. It's a shame, because there's so much talent in WWE, and they just rot. They just rot. They try to be happy. They try to make the best of the opportunities that WWE gives them, but WWE never knows how to use them correctly, and they get depressed, and then they just sit there and they rot until they actually get to be free. And you see so much former WWE talent, showing up in AEW, and they're happy. And it just shows you how bad Vince McMahon truly is now. The guy is a cancer to his own wrestling company. He's a cancer. So seeing Ruby out there tonight, smiling, I felt so happy for her. So happy for her. And we saw her come out. Her colors were very similar to the colors she had back when she was in the Riot Squad in WWE, and she got a huge reaction from the crowd. So she eliminated Jade, which did make me a little bit sad, but not too sad. And then she continued eliminating people. So it came down to the final 3, being Thunder Rosa and Nyla and Ruby, right? So after Rose sent Nyla packing, hitting her with a drop kick, we saw that it was Thunder Rosa and Ruby left, and you could see right there, this is a future pay-per-view AEW Women's Championship match waiting to happen. It's a match that's waiting to happen. AEW, that it's gonna happen. So I don't know if Ruby's the one to take that title from Britt Baker right now, and maybe it's gonna be Thunder Rosa down the line. But you can already see just with the end of this match and the stare down between these two. This is easily a future AEW Women's Championship match, easily. So we saw these two; they were battling up on the ring apron, but Shoho was able to get the win by kicking Rosa to the floor, and now she's next in line to face Britt Baker. So in her first night in AEW, she's already now the number 1 contender for the AEW Women's Championship. So I expect this match to probably take place on Dynamite, since Full Gear isn't until November. So I don't think they're going to wait 2 months to do this match. But still, Britt Baker and Ruby, I expect that to be great. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be an exciting match. And I'm happy for Ruby. It's almost like in one night, right? In just one night of being in AEW, Ruby's had more success than she had her entire main roster career in WWE, which is insane. And it's also sad, but it's insane just to think about, So very happy for Ruby here. Britt Baker and Ruby is going to be a great Women's Championship match. I don't think I still think it's too early in Britt's championship run for her to lose that title. I definitely want to see Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and maybe Thunder Rosa be the one to take that title from Britt, and then down the line we get Ruby versus Thunder Rosa. But hey, we'll see. There's still a lot of different ways that this could go, But definitely just Ruby, finding success already in AEW. It's just great, and I'm happy for Ruby. Very, very happy. WWE should be slapping themselves in the face for not capitalizing on how good Ruby was in WWE. Like, it pisses me off that WrestleMania came and went, and the fact that Ruby and Liv didn't win the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. I still don't understand how they didn't give those two the Women's Tag titles at WrestleMania. That was a championship victory waiting to happen. That was a championship victory that should have happened. Ruby and Liv should have won the tag titles at WrestleMania earlier this year. But still, it's good to see Ruby already finding success in AEW, and I'm excited to see what she does. Definitely that match with Britt Baker is going to be exciting. So cannot wait for that. So the Casino Battle Royal was better than I expected it to be. It was supposed to be a cool down, but this was a fun way to follow, that epic tag team match with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. All right, so moving on. We had the final fight between Chris Jericho and MJF. If Jericho was to lose this match, he would never wrestle again. This was great. Look, I'll say this right off the bat. Right, and this is the fourth time these two have went up against each other. Look, Jericho and MJF have had great matches, and they've had better matches than this one. This was not the best match that these two have had in their series, but still, the ending to this match and the story going in is what made this match great. That's the thing we have to understand. The ending here, the crowd, and the fact that Jericho's career was on the line. That was what made this match great. And the crowd was very, very hot. Like I said, if you had put this match on directly after the tag team match, I don't know if it would have been done, because the crowd was so hot for that match that there was no way Jericho and MJF were going to be able to duplicate what those two teams had done. So you needed that cool down with the Casino Battle Royal. So even though this match wasn't as good as some of the past encounters between Jericho and MJF, it was so great because you had given the crowd that break, right? You given the chance for the crowd to, calm down a bit. And then the finish of this match and the story was what made this really, really well. Oh, man. And MJF, he is such a fantastic heel. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, MJF is a future AEW World Champion. I just don't know what he will become it. I just don't. All right? I don't know. Like, I don't know when you go all in with MJF, because like he said this in the past, he's gonna be in AEW for a very, very long time, So you have so much time before you can make MJF world champion. But the guy is so good at what he does. I just don't know, when do you give MJF the world title? I don't know. With CM Punk there and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, so much talent, so much talent there. So many names that could be AEW World Champion. Like it's not a matter of if, but when, and that could be years from now. But MJF, he's a future AEW World Champion. He has everything needed. It's just that he's so young. There's really no rush to make him AEW World Champion. You don't need to rush it. But oh my gosh, so we saw the start of this match was crazy because basically you got the countdown, and you guys all know Jericho from especially early in his career, the countdown clock. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it would always go into break the walls down, right? So we got the countdown here, and you thought it was Jericho, you thought it was Jericho coming out, right? Jericho was going to give us a huge Easter egg here, but instead, when the countdown clock ended, you didn't see a jacket. You didn't hear the Break the Walls theme down. You saw this graphic that said Jericho's last match, and you're like, what the fuck? Why would Jericho put that out as a graphic? And then you realized that, oh no, this is not this is not Chris Jericho coming out. It's fucking MJF. It's fucking MJF. And I was like, holy moly, is this guy a great heel? I don't know what the background of that entrance was tonight, but I'm gonna assume that was MJF's idea. That's insane. Like MJF is such a fantastic heel. The guy comes out all cocky, with his ring. He's talking shit with fans, on the entrance ramp. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this guy great at what he does? Like, wow. Wow. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. Let me. Oh man, I had to get some water. Woo! But that entrance from MJF was wild. Like that, that's some epic heel shit right there. That's some epic heel shit from MJF. So after MJF came out, Jericho came out, and he had a guitarist from his Foxy band playing, and it was just a guitar, because you had the fans chanting it, and it was a beautiful scene. Just you have this one guitarist playing the guitar riff, and I would know this because I play guitar myself, right? He's playing the guitar riff to Jericho's theme song, and then you have the fans chanting, right, singing along to the theme, and Jericho's smiling. Jericho's just smiling, and he was soaking it all in. He's walking with the baseball bat, and he's smiling. And it was kind of like, for a second, you're thinking like, you look at the stipulation of this match, and you're just sitting there, you're just like, you're sitting there, you're just like, what if this is Jericho's final match? Right? What if this is Jericho's final match? You never know. You never know. And it was just like, I stood there for a second, and I was confident that Jericho would win, but I had to sit there for a second and just think, what if? Just what if? Just what if? Because you never know. You never know. So, we saw. So Jericho was very, very aggressive here, knowing that his career was on the line, and we saw MJF then went after the Jericho's arm, right, and he delivered a heart seeker on the ring apron, which I was like, holy moly, they could have ended the match there. That was a crazy spot. So then he did the code breaker finisher. And he also did a line salt. Then MJF did a beautiful Liger bomb, and I was like, "Wow!" I saw that. I was like, because you forget that MJF, he's not the biggest guy. He's not small, but he's not that big. So when I saw him do the Liger bomb, I was like, "Woo!" Like you forget MJF has some power. He has some power in that body. So then Jericho delivered another code breaker, but then Wardlow came into the arena, right? But then he was met by Jake Hager. We always know the inner circle's always going at it with MJF's faction. So then we saw MJF, this distraction. He hit Jericho with a baseball bat, and then he followed up with a Judas effect, and then you were just like, "What the fuck?" Is this really the end? But you saw as the referee counted 3, she didn't see that Jericho's foot was on the bottom rope, right? And at first, we're sitting there, our Discord server was like, "There's no way you're fucking ending it like that. There's no way, right? You knew the match was gonna be restarted. You're just waiting for them to make the announcement." Excuse me. We were like, "There's no way the match is ending like that. No way they're letting this happen." So we saw Paul Turner, one of the male referees, arrive. She told female referee Aubrey Edwards that she had made a mistake and that she just had not seen that Jericho's foot was on the bottom rope. And they went to John Roberts and they restarted the match. So really, I love the ending here. Because the crowd was up, they were ready to go. They were like, "All right, bet." Because first of all, the controversial finish, right, of Jericho's foot being on the bottom rope, even though the referee made the the 3 count, made everyone like, "What the fuck? Are you seriously doing this? Is this really the end of Jericho's career?" So I loved it. I love this. So then uh we saw as the match was restarted, they're just going. This was really fast paced. So Jericho went for the Judas effect. MJF reversed it and into an armbar, and then Jericho was able to escape that, and then he applied the wall to Jericho. The way he had him bent, you knew MJF was in some real pain. Like that looked very, very painful. So we saw that the torque was So MJF was in there for a grip. MJF then he did a great job selling here. He was about to tap, then he starts biting his hand to try to get to keep him from tapping, right? But right when he's about to reach the bottom rope, Jericho was able to pull him back into the center of the ring, and then MJF had no choice but to tap out. And then we see Jericho's career continues. We saw the Inner Circle. They celebrate with Jericho in the ring after the match. So this is how the rivalry ends with Jericho and MJF. Remember, this is a rivalry that's been going on for nearly a year. Nearly a year. So what a crazy roller coaster ride. Crazy, man. From, MJF wanting to join the Inner Circle, to the initial match between those two, right? MJF having to beat Jericho to get into the Inner Circle. Then MJF being part of the Inner Circle for a little bit. Then turning on the Inner Circle and making his own faction, to those two factions feuding, to then MJF beating Jericho again, and then Jericho wanting to get payback on MJF, having to go through the trials, right? Having to beat 5 other guys just to get the MJF to lose for a third time, and then us getting the story to reach its end here tonight with MJF losing to Jericho with Jericho's career on the line. This is like I said, look, I hope there's a movie kind of this year-long feud, because it's been a crazy story, and Jericho at his age to still be able to tell a crazy story like this just shows how great his wrestling mind is, right? And the MJF, he's grown so much as a performer in the last year. The guy is a future AEW World Champion. I will say it as many times as I have to. The guy is fantastic in the ring. The guy has everything needed to be a star. And this year-long program with Jericho has been great to see. Great to see. And it reached a great conclusion tonight. Where they go from here, I have no fucking idea. No idea. Because MJF, you could easily put him in the main event scene, right? But I don't know where you go from here. I don't. But I'm gonna sit back and enjoy it. But this was great. This was great. Really good way to end this year-long feud with these two. And Casey says this match shows how you do the false ending right. I'll agree with you there, because that like I said, that ending was fantastic. Next up, the big match. The big match. Give me a second here. Read through my Twitter. I got a message here. I don't know who is this. Whatever. read this message. But yeah, let's finally, yes, the big match, right? You know, this was what we were all waiting for. The return of CM Punk after 7 years to the square circle. This was what we were all waiting for. CM Punk versus Darby Allen in Chicago. And this was fantastic. Look, could the match, I'm going to be honest with you guys, could the match have been better? A little bit, yes. But the thing about it is, I knew CM Punk was going to have a little ring rust. I knew he was going to have ring rust from not wrestling for 7 years. You did that, like, come on. We all knew that was going to happen, you know? And was he a little bit slow here at the beginning of the match? Yes, of course. But like I said, that goes along with the ring rust. But once he hit his stride, man, it almost felt like going back to 2011 and 2012 with CM Punk. Like, once he hit his stride, it felt like old times, you know? CM Punk, the best in the world, is back, you know? And what's crazy is CM Punk is just going to get better and better and better as he continues to get used to being back in those ring ropes, you know? Because CM Punk is not going anywhere. This was great. This was great, you know? So, look, Darby Allen had there was like a weird video package. He had like a little 2-minute video package, but you know, it set the stage for how good this match was gonna be. And of course, CM Punk got a huge ovation, right? Cult of personality, probably the best team in all wrestling, you know. And he came out. He was wearing long pants. He was wearing long pants for this one. You know, I don't know if Punk's just trying to get his legs in shape before he just wears his normal tights. But I would say it was a little weird seeing Punk wrestle in long pants here. You know, hopefully going forward, you know, we'll see him go back to his old ring gear from back in the day. But still, man, like, it was just great to see him back in the ring. But I lost my mind when I saw Punk do the "It's clobbering time!" Like, oh, man. Because we hadn't seen him do it yet. We've seen him make his entrance, but we hadn't seen him do the "It's clobbering time" yet. So to see him do the "It's clobbering time," the only thing that felt weird is we didn't see him turn his back and have it say "Best in the World," because he's not wearing Best in the World shirts. But still, his entrance was great, and the energy for this match was off the charts. And woof. So basically, Darby kind of carried Punk here at the beginning, you know. And look, I expected that because, like I said, Punk had the ring rust, you know. So Darby did a really good job of, you know, carrying this match early. There was some rest holds, but I'm just like, you know, first of all, Punk is a technician wrestler, right? That's the way he is. He's a technician wrestler. Of course, you're gonna get some rest holds here, you know. But we saw Punk then take control when he, you know, he sent Allen into the ring post with an Irish whip, and this was like, you know, Allen don't care about anything. That guy's trying to kill himself when he gets in that ring. So he Irish whipped him very, very hard into the ring post, where then he went flying out of the ring. Then Punk controlled him with an abdominal stretch, right? And then he did the classic running knee. I expect him to do the bulldog. If you remember, Punk usually, you know, follows with a bulldog after he does the running knee, but he did a clothesline instead. Then we saw Allen. He fought back, throwing his body around the ring. He hit Punk with a beautiful flipping senton outside the ring. Like, I was like, woof. Then Punk suckered Allen to the coffin drop, right? because our Darby climbs the rope and then he mocks Punk by doing the go to sleep, but then he does the coffin drop, but Punk got out of the way, and then Punk's sitting up just laughing. He's like, haha, got your ass, So I was like, damn. But the thing about it is, but after Punk had got up, right? Punk was laughing. Part of me was expecting Punk to go for the Anaconda Vice. Because the way I was looking at this match, I was kind of looking at it like it was Punk back in 2012 or 2013, right? Prime Punk, Because Punk back then was wrestling on such a high level that I wanted to see if we were going to get that Punk here. And this match was great. But like I said, it's going to take Punk a little bit to get back to that 2011 level. It's going to take him some time. Like, we didn't see Punk use the Anaconda Vice. We didn't see Punk do the top rope elbow drop. I think we will see those moves in time. But for Punk's first match back, I expect him to do the Anaconda Vice, after Allen failed with the coffin drop. But he didn't. It is what it is. But I do expect as time goes on and we see Punk, get more and more comfortable being back in the ring, I expect him to bring back more of those classic moves that we loved so much from him back in the day, like the suicide dive, like the elbow drop, and the Anaconda Vice, and everything else that made Punk so great. So we saw Allen put Punk into the Last Supper pin, but he was able to kick out. So there was some very close near falls here. Then Allen went for the Posarana, but Punk countered it into a beautiful go to sleep. It was a beautiful counter. This was actually the second go to sleep that Punk had hit in the match. He went for the go to sleep a lot here, but after connecting with the second one, he got the pinfall victory. This was a great match. It was great. For someone that's been out of the ring for nearly a decade, for 7.5 years, and to come back and do that, it shows why Punk is still called by many the best in the world. And like I said, Punk's only going to get better. He's only going to get better as he gets more comfortable being back in that ring. So for this to be that good a match for his first time being in the ring after all these years, it's just like, man. Like, imagine how good he's going to be 6 months from now, a year from now. Because you think about all the talent that Punk can be working with, all the matches we're going to be getting, right? Punk versus Malachi Black, Punk versus Cody Rhodes, Punk versus Kenny Omega, Punk versus Christian Cage, Punk versus Bryan Danielson, right? Punk and Daniel Bryan going back at it, reliving their rivalry from a decade ago. Punk versus Adam Cole. Holy shit, imagine that. Adam Cole and CM Punk. CM Punk versus Miro. CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. Them reliving their rivalry from almost a decade ago. CM Punk versus MJF. There is, Punk versus Andrade. Punk versus Pac. There are so many matches you can do with Punk. And then he's just going to get better and better the more comfortable he gets being back in that ring. It's going to be insane the type of matches this guy's going to be able to put on once he's fully comfortable being back in that ring again. Because, man, there was so much pressure on Punk going into this match. So much, because this was his first match in nearly a decade. And to put on that good a match after being gone for so long and knowing that once that ring rust is gone, right, and once he's wrestling on a consistent basis, right, it's going to be insane the type of matches he's doing. Insane. So imagine 1 year from now, God willing, right? Who knows how, right? Let's just say, for example, 1 year from now, we get CM Punk versus CM Punk's AEW World Champion, right? That is a possibility. Let's say 1 year from now, CM Punk is the AEW World Champion. Who knows what classics this guy could be giving us a year from now? And imagine me sitting in this chair 1 year from now, and me saying, remember where CM Punk was a year ago when he had just returned against Darby Allen. Now look at where CM Punk is a year later. Insane, right? insane to think about. But look, was he a little bit rusty here? Of course. Was he a little bit slow here? Of course. But that's the fact that he was able to put on that great a match after being out of the ring for that long. There's a reason why we call him the best in the world. And he's going to just get better and better, and I'm so excited to see it. It's so good to have CM Punk back in the ring. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see where he goes from here. I cannot wait to see. There's so many matches you can do with him. So many people, so many rivalries. And I'm excited for them all. I'm excited for all of them, and it's going to be epic. Gonna be epic, man. Gonna be epic. But this was great.
Forget about that. Put that on the back burner for a second. Let's focus on what you're probably really thinking about, which is himself, his charisma, his promos, what he's come.
So, Tony Khan did.
Now I know. It's just, I kept seeing it, and I kept being like, God, like. So one of the things.
Tony Khan is interviewing Daniel Bryan right now.
Or have kids, but when you're married and you have kids, like your life becomes like a little bit tame. I love it, but it's a little bit tame. I need one part of my life that's a little bit wild, right? That like, oh man.
Let me see what's going on with this.
You see these guys doing these crazy things, and I'm like, oh my God, can I do that? You know what? Hell yes, I can. I don't care. Like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna show everybody here that what elite really looks like. Like this is what elite looks like. And I'm not, Punk had come in and said like, I want to help the young guys and all that kind of stuff. No, man, I'm gonna kick their fucking heads in.
Yeah.
Can I say
in this
that?
room you can.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Daniel, you mentioned in interviews after WrestleMania.
Daniel.
Brian, sorry.
Someone called Daniel Bryan Daniel, right? Daniel can't. He's not in WWE anymore. He's going by Brian. That's funny. So Brian's like, no. You can't go. Don't call me Daniel. I'm Brian. I'm Bryan Danielson.
You mentioned in interviews after WrestleMania you felt disconnected walking out on that stage for that main event. Was that connection back tonight?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
it was
shit.
interesting Because,
Shit. Fuck. Damn, he rose to WWE. Because the guy asks, after WrestleMania, you felt disconnected. What did you feel disconnected walking on that stage? And remember, Daniel Bryan was in the main event of WrestleMania. Like, there's nothing bigger than that. Daniel Bryan, he's had big WrestleMania moments. You guys have heard me say Edge versus Roman versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. In my opinion, that's the match of the year for WWE so far. That's the best match of the year. But the fact that Daniel Bryan came out afterwards and said that he felt disconnected being on that stage, wow. And then the guy asks, was being back out there tonight, right? Was being back out there tonight, did you feel that energy again? And Brian was like, yeah, that connection was back. So Brian does fucking rip WWE. He said being in the main event of WrestleMania, I was disconnected. And now just being back here for one night in AEW, that connection's back. So, oh my gosh.
I don't think it was the first time in my career, but for the first time in a really long time, Tony put me in a trailer. I was hiding in a trailer. And then so I had to go back to the trailer after, and then I talked to my wife and everything. And then I was sitting there and just kind of meditating after. And
Golly.
you can just feel it.
Facts.
So
Dude, Paul
sometimes
says Daniel Bryan
it's
could curse. I can't
podcasts,
believe it. I agree.
Cool things. And I kept sitting
I
there.
agree.
And I don't know how many of you meditate, or it's woo bullshit, I know, but whatever. But just feeling like the sensation of it, it still resonated, right? And that's it's one of the very unique things about pro wrestling is that you go out there and you feel like for the most part, most of my career, almost every time, I've gone out there and really felt something. And tonight, like it was a feeling that wouldn't stop. until they came and got me out of the trailer. And then you disconnect from the meditation, and then you're just like, oh, where am I going? Oh, okay, so now I'm here.
You mentioned your wife a couple times. Is there any interest from Bree joining you?
Good conversation.
Holy moly.
So basically the cadence I've fallen into is when we do a live Rampage, then we'll do Tape Dark that night. So it's like this past week we did Dynamite and we did Elevation beforehand, and then we did Rampage. We live this past week on the Go Home show, and we did Dark then. But if we fall, there's going to be times where Rampage might be taped on. We'll do Elevation before.
Look, I'm probably going to have to go back and watch this whole press conference because holy moly, fuck. All right, let's take a second look at the chat real quick. What we got over here. Yeah. Look, we've been live streaming for almost 2 hours. It doesn't feel like 2 hours. It only feels like an hour for me, but damn. So, let's go. Let's look what we got in the chat. So, let me see. Paul's like, why are you hating on CM Punk? That's your favorite wrestler. Sasha Banks is my favorite wrestler, right? If we're talking from the male wrestlers, CM Punk, my favorite, well, it's, okay. For my male favorite wrestlers, it's Cena, right? Cena, Punk, AJ Styles third, Daniel Bryan fourth, Adam Cole fifth, right? That's my top 5 male wrestlers right now, right? If we're talking all the time, that's a different conversation because then I got Stone Cold in there. But my favorite wrestlers, Sasha Banks is my number one, right? And then it would go from males, it would go Cena, then Punk, then AJ Styles, then Daniel Bryan, then Adam Cole. So, did someone say, someone said did the stream freeze? I don't know. I've been here the whole time. Probably because I was looking at a tweet. Sorry. Accelerator says, you've never seen AEW before. How can you analyze anything about it? Wrong. I don't know why you're assuming you know anything about me. Wrong. I keep up with AEW every week. I didn't watch AEW every week. I did watch the highlights. Mainly before, I would say about 2 months ago, I would just mainly watch AEW's highlights from their YouTube channel. I would keep up with it, right? I would watch some of the pay-per-views, but I wouldn't watch all of the pay-per-views. But, I kept up with it, really. But I was never fully watching AEW. So don't assume, tonight was not my first AEW pay-per-view ever. That's stupid to say. All right, I will definitely say tonight was the first time that I watched a AEW pay-per-view. The whole thing tonight was the first time I watched all the pay-per-view. Right? There's been some AEW pay-per-views I watched half, maybe 60%, but I watched all of All Out tonight. This was the first full AEW pay-per-view I've seen. So, and it's not my first time watching AEW. It's my first time doing an AEW pay-per-view review. But it's not my first time reviewing AEW on the channel or just talking about it in general. So I would stop assuming there, right? Just because I mainly cover WWE doesn't mean it's like I'm just new to AEW, all right? Definitely, I would say I'm a WWE fan, but I do recognize that AEW is number one, and I'm getting more into AEW as the days go on. Accelerator is like, you don't even know who Darby Allen is. I'm going to ignore that dumbass comment. Paul's like, he didn't sit on the barricade and blow a kiss, so in my eyes, he lost. That shit's hilarious, bro. Oh, my gosh. I like this Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor match. Oh, my gosh. It's just hilarious. Accelerator is like, Sasha sucks. Fitz is a casual fan. Yeah, that's funny. You can't say Adam Cole without Baby at the end. He's not the best in the world. There's at least 20 wrestlers better. How is he going to get better if Punk is past his prime? Well, the thing about it is, think about it is CM Punk is still wrestling now, right? Right? He's wrestling now. This is not the CM Punk. We know this is not the CM Punk from 2011, 2012, 2013 when he was the best wrestler in the world. We know that. We know this is not the same CM Punk, right? But as the rust goes away and he wrestles more and more, he's going to get better and better. Like I said, like, come on. Why do you think we bitch and moan about Goldberg so much? Goldberg, he's been back since, 2016? That was when he had his match with Brock Lesnar 5 years ago almost. And Goldberg's wrestled how many matches since then? At least, 10? And he has not done anything better since when he came back. CM Punk is not going anywhere, right? I don't know how long his AEW contract is, but we can assume that he's going to be here for at least the foreseeable future. He's not going anywhere. And he's going to wrestle tons of more matches, right? Tons of more matches. So you want to see CM Punk get better than where he is right now, because we want to see CM Punk get as close to where he was in his prime as possible. Will he ever reach that level back? Will he ever reach that 2011, 2012, 2013 level? Who knows? Look at Edge. Look at Edge. I said this a couple weeks ago on the SummerSlam review. Edge now, what Edge is doing right now, you can make the argument that this is the best Edge that we have ever seen, right? And Edge is way past his prime. Edge is in his 40s, near his 50s. And Edge has put on, how many classic matches this year, right? He put on the classic against, he was in the best WWE match of the year, arguably, at the WrestleMania main event with him, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan, right? He put on a fantastic match with Roman at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. He put on, in my opinion, another one of the top 3 WWE main roster matches of the year at SummerSlam with Seth Rollins. So, yeah, Edge is no longer in his prime, right? He's in his 40s, and he's doing the best work of his career in the ring. You can easily apply that to CM Punk. CM Punk may not be in his physical prime anymore, right? Because he's in his 40s. That doesn't mean he can't get close to the level where he once was. That's what I'm saying. So let me clarify that for you. What up, Tokyo? Fuck Goldberg. I agree. What up, Lil Fettuccine? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you.
And they're a looming presence tonight. So it was really cool that Georgie and Andre and Jr., of course, also came with Dan. All right, this is the last one.
Tony, thank you.
Sure.
I used the word historic on social media about ever since you guys did Rampage, the first dance, and now tonight with Bryan and Punk wrestling. How do you feel about the landscape in professional wrestling changing, and the majority of the people now, from what I see on social media, wanting pro wrestling, Punk coming in saying pro wrestling, Bryan pro wrestling? How does that make you feel, and what's the mindset about that? And do you feel that at all?
It's my mindset. Wrestling is pro wrestling is my mindset. Tonight, Excalibur said.
JD asked a question
Kenny,
to Tony
Kenny
Khan.
drained him with the belt. Kenny said he hit him with the championship title, and I said, Excalibur, you can say belt, bro. And so those are not banned words here. Pro wrestling is the least banned word. I use it all the time. You hear me thank the wrestling fans. That's what we're doing here. Wrestling fans watch the wrestling program. As somebody I look up to said, wrestling fans watch the wrestling program to see the wrestlers wrestle. And even if I don't always follow everything he says or haven't always made him happy, that is probably the person I learned the most about the wrestling business from, and I don't think he would probably take a lot of credit for me as his protege, but the fact is he's right about that. And, historic, indelible, they're great words. And I had a really good feeling about tonight, and a lot of times when you have a great feeling about the show on paper, we've done 100 Dynamites, we've done 4 Rampages, we've done 10 pay-per-views, we've done a lot of shows. Usually when they feel really good on paper, unless some bad accident happens or there's either in production or God forbid in the ring or something, there's none of that. It was a perfect night, and it didn't feel like, it just felt like the card was perfect, the moments were perfect, the signings were perfect, the fans were perfect, the night was perfect, the momentum, the environment, it was a perfect night, truly. And I'm really glad all of you were here, and I hope I got to everyone's questions, and that's why I wanted to stay and talk to all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
God dang. Golly. JD, man, holding that camera for 2 hours.
Wow, it was such a long
Guys, I'll see you live tomorrow. Off the script. I'll see you live tomorrow.
Dude held that camera for 2 hours. Golly. Holy moly, what a mark. Anyway, yeah, so like I said, CM Punk, best back in the ring. What else can you ask? And he's only going to get better as time goes on. You know? Like, come on. I'm kind of baffled that I had to explain myself there too. Like, I don't know why I had to explain the whole Prime situation. That was kind of dumb by Accelerator, but whatever. Anyway, let's move on. So we had Paul Wright, Big Show, right? Paul Wright versus QT Marshall. This was unnecessary. All right, you guys, for any of my WWE fans, you guys know my thoughts on the Big Show. You know, this didn't do any damage to the card at all. It didn't hurt the show, in my opinion. If this match had taken place on any WWE show, you know, if it had taken place on a Raw or a SmackDown or a WWE pay-per-view, I would be bitching and moaning how bad this was for WWE. This had no impact on the show. It didn't make the show better, didn't make the show worse. I will say that it was unnecessary, you know. This show was already a long show. It was, you know, it was like the show, what time did the show end? Like 11:40? Something like that. The show was already well over 3.5 hours. Yeah, and this took up about, 7-8 minutes? There was no need for this on the show. This is something you could have done on Dynamite or Rampage or whatever, or AEW Dark, right? Excuse me. You could have done this match on anything else. There was no point in you doing it here. But, you know, what's done is done. We can't go back and change anything. If I was, you know, backstage, I would have not done this match, but it is what it is. It didn't hurt the show, didn't do anything. It didn't really have any real impact on the legacy of the show. I just wouldn't have done it. You know, it was about 7 or 8 minutes that didn't really need to happen, right? Big Show dominated here, right? Paul Wright, he dominated. He did all his normal stuff. He did the chops. He did the choke slam. It did nothing. It did nothing. You know, he went with the choke slam, got the 3 count victory. That was that. Yeah, I don't know why they thought you needed like a cool down from the Punk and Allen match. Like, I would have just, you know, if anything, you should have probably just done this on the pre-show. If you really want to do it, you should just put on the pre-show. I would have went from CM Punk and Allen straight to the main event, in my opinion. Didn't hurt the show, but it was unnecessary. So that's what I gotta say on that. So before the main event, we had a quick promo from Malachi Black. I would love to see CM Punk versus Malachi Black. Oh, oof. I know that they announced for Wednesday on Dynamite, Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes, right? Because Malachi Black, we know he's been destroying the Rhodes family right now after taking out Cody. So Dusty versus Aleister Black is set for Dynamite on Wednesday, along with Moxley versus Suzuki, right? I hope I said his name correctly. Moxley cut a quick promo hyping up Dynamite on Wednesday, so that was that. So lastly, we had our main event here for the AEW World Title, Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. And look. You knew that Kenny Omega was going to win this match. There was nothing that was telling me that Christian had a chance, especially after Christian had just beaten Kenny Omega for the Impact World Title a couple weeks before. You knew Kenny was going to get his payback here, winning this match and retaining the AEW World Championship. It was that simple. What made this so great, of course, was the ending. We were talking about it in our Discord. We were just talking about Bryan Danielson. He's gonna show up after this match. He's gonna show up after this match. He's gonna show up after this match, right? Kenny Omega's gonna get the victory. Kenny's gonna be all cocky after the match. Bryan Danielson's gonna show up. The Adam Cole part was the more shocking part, because he was, like I said at the beginning of the show, Adam Cole was baby, right, as Paul would say. Adam Cole was just in NXT 2 days ago. He was just signed to WWE 2 days ago. No one expected him to sign with AEW like that, like with the flip of a switch, you know? Like, and let me read to you guys Bleacher Report's analysis. I'm looking at it in front of me. He said, with this main event and what happened afterwards, and with that, a competing wrestling company completed the most substantial blow to WWE since the Eric Bischoff-led WCW came looking for a fight 2 decades ago. In one night, the company produced CM Punk's first match in 7 years, stole a coveted free agent away in Adam Cole, and debuted in one of Vince McMahon's top stars of the last decade in Danielson. While the intent to put McMahon and company out of business may not be there, to suggest there is no competition after All Out would be to promote one's own obliviousness. This was a statement night for Tony Khan and his company, and the ending of the show with the crowd chanting AEW was remnant of the hardcore devotion fans once had for the movement ECW once championed. With the money to fund a star-studded roster, of course. We will remember this night as the emphasis for a new battle for pro wrestling supremacy, even if the sentiment isn't quite what it was before. As for the match itself, kudos to Cage for doing what he has done his entire career by overperforming and earning every accolade that is ever dealt him. Rarely is there a star who is the picture of consistency that he is, but remains as undervalued and underappreciated as Captain Charisma. He entered the show without a ton of buzz accompanying him, and all he did was have a killer main event match with the world champion, and again prove why he belongs in the conversation with the best workers of his generation. So that's what Bleacher Report had to say about this match. Look, this match was good. It was predictable as fuck that Kenny Omega was going to retain. There was not a moment here where I thought that Omega was not going to retain. But the big thing is what happened afterwards with Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson, right? And Bleacher Report puts it perfectly here. They stole a coveted free agent. Because even though most of us knew that Adam Cole was going to AEW, right? We didn't expect to happen in 2 fucking days after his contract expired with WWE. We thought, all right, maybe a week, maybe a month, right? No, 2 days after his WWE contract expires, and we're hearing reports of the negotiations with WWE, he's with AEW, showing up at the end of the AEW All Out pay-per-view. The turnaround here is fucking insane. And then we all knew Bryan Danielson was coming to AEW. There was no doubt. We were just waiting for when. Right? And Bryan Danielson showing up, just put let's just put the cherry on top. Put the cherry on top here, right? So, about the match itself, the match was good. This was a really good match, right? Was it the best match I've ever seen? No. Was it the best AEW world title main event ever? No. But it was a good match. I never for a second thought that Christian would win, but it didn't. But it didn't hurt the match in any way. This was a good match. So Omega was able to take advantage after Don Callis distracted the referee. First of all, what's to say? Don Callis. I don't know if Don's out here shopping with fucking Byron Saxton. Because that pink and black suit he was wearing was absolutely horrific. I don't know what the hell he was doing with that suit on. But, I digress, right? That's Craig Sager, bro. Craig Sager's rolling around in his grave. Rest in peace to, the legendary Craig Sager. But he's rolling around in his grave with Don Callis wearing that suit tonight. But anyway, so after Cowboys distracted the referee, Omega took over, right? Cage fought back into the match, but Omega held his momentum with a knee strike to the face. Then he did the V-trigger, and then a Snapdragon suplex, right? Then Christian recovered. He delivered a spear through the table. The spear here was kind of weak in my opinion. It wasn't, and the fact is, Christian fell on his side after doing the spear, so it didn't look that good. You know, even though I liked seeing Omega go through the table, like it could have been executed a little bit better. So then Christian hit 2 more spears, but then he was able to recover. Omega got hit with 2 more spears, but kept surviving. He delivered a ripcord V-trigger. Christian answered with a kill switch. Omega was barely able to kick out of it. So then Omega recovered. Then Christian went for a kill switch from the top rope, but the kill switch is an easy move to counter, right? And then Omega delivered an avalanche one-winged angel for one-winged angel for the win, and that was a beautiful one-winged angel, man. Like, you see the visual of the crowd knowing what was about to happen, and them all rising to their feet. I was like, damn, it was a great way to end that match. So really, really good match here with Christian and Kenny Omega. As predictable as it was, this was an enjoyable main event, right? So, of course, after the matches where all the craziness happened, right, Omega's cutting a promo talking about, the only people that could take the title off him, are either not here, like they're not with this company, or they're retired or dead, which, I'll give Omega credit. That's a good line. So then all of a sudden, Adam Cole made his entrance, right? Got a huge ovation. He already had the Adam Cole or the All Elite Baby, right? I was like, damn, they got that merch, made fast for him. He did the Baby and the crowd's going wild. And I was like, damn, I said in the Discord, I was like, I'm not used to Adam Cole as a baby face just because he's been a heel for so long in NXT. And then all of a sudden, he hits a super kick on Jungle Boy, right? He hits a super kick on Jungle Boy, and because it was a brawl that had broken up, and all of the Elite are in the ring with Omega, right? He hits a super kick on Jungle Boy, basically saying, "Nah, I'm not a babyface, I'm a heel." Right? So Adam Cole was babyface for 2 minutes here, and then he's back to his normal heel ways. You had a funny ass visual of the Young Bucks kissing Adam Cole on the cheek. Cole takes the mic from Omega, and he's like, "Story time!" I love that. It's story time with Adam Cole, boys and girls. I love when he says that. And then he's talking about how the Elite are the most dominant faction in all professional wrestling. So I was just like, damn, Adam Cole, amazing. And I'm still just dumbfounded at the fact that Adam Cole just was with WWE. I'm just not going to get over how quickly things turned around. He was just with WWE 2 days ago. Now he's with AEW, showing up at the end of the pay-per-view 2 days later. Just absolutely a spit and a slap in WWE's face. Oh man, WWE should be ashamed of themselves for letting Adam Cole go away that easily over a video game channel. They're fucking idiots. Adam Cole, arguably I'll make the argument. You can make the argument that Adam Cole is the greatest superstar in NXT history with everything he did. With the Undisputed Era, winning the North American Championship, the longest rating NXT champion of all time, right? The tons of classics he's had with so many superstars, the rivalries, right? You can make an argument that Adam Cole is the greatest superstar that ever walked through NXT. Right, and then they just let him walk away because they don't want to let him have his Twitch channel. It's insane and it's disgusting that they just let him walk away that easily. It shows how out of touch Vince McMahon is in 2021. That's another example out of the thousands we already have. But Adam Cole back with the Elite, right? And all of a sudden, you knew what was going to happen next. Because Omega takes the mic again, and he's still talking. And all of a sudden, Bryan Danielson's music plays. And he didn't come out with the fantastic ending song. But like I said, it's only... eventually, Bryan, he's going to use that song. He's going to use that theme in AEW at some point. He's not going anywhere. We know that Bryan, like, he wants to work with young talent. He wants to work with New Japan talent. Right? And, you know, there's so much that you can do with Bryan in AEW. So much you can do. And it's going to be fantastic to see. He came out joining Cage and Jurassic Express as the heels, you know, left the ring. And that's how the show ended, right? What a way to end this pay-per-view. Fucking what a way. You know, Anthony said it best. He said, fuck WWE. You know, look, man, the ending of this show, CM Punk coming back and having that great a match with Darby Allen after being out for 7 years, right? You know, Adam Cole showing up 2 days after, just 2 days after his WWE contract expired at the end of this pay-per-view. And, of course, Bryan Danielson, one of the biggest stars in WWE from the past decade. Right? One of the biggest stars in WWE from the past decade. Somebody you thought that would never leave WWE showing up here in AEW. What else can you say? What else can you say? Right? Like, damn. WWE has themselves to blame for letting all these stars go. This is huge. Tonight represented history. Tonight represented the gears being changed. The winds are shifting. I said it on my CM Punk podcast a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again here tonight, right? WWE has become the alternative of watching AEW. From if you want real wrestling, where the storyline matters, the characters matter, watch AEW. WWE will always be number one when it comes to the financial standpoint, right? And you know, even from an entertainment standpoint, I guess. But if you want real professional wrestling, AEW is the place to go. AEW is going to be the number one. And until Vince McMahon is out of power, when it comes to creative in WWE, that's the way things are going to be. AEW is here and it's here to stay, right? Like, I don't know what else there is to say. There really isn't anything else to say. You know, like, come on. I don't want to hear people saying, "Oh, AEW has Vince's attentions now." AEW's had Vince's attention since they put NXT to go up against Dynamite on Wednesdays 2 years ago. That was when the death of NXT started. When Vince decided to put NXT up against AEW, taking it off the network and putting it on USA. You know, Vince has been paying attention to AEW the whole time. But his ignorance, right, and his unwillingness to change has put WWE in the position that they're in now. AEW is the new number one in professional wrestling. And I'm saying this as a WWE fan, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that and deny what I am. I'm a WWE fan. I am an AEW fan as well, but WWE will always be my number one. But I'm not going to sit here and deny that AEW is not the better company when it comes to wrestling and a creative standpoint. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. Okay? AEW is the new number one. And if you don't believe that, you're shitting yourself. Okay? But I'm going to take one last quick look in the chat before we end here. Because, man, this has been a long-ass stream. Yep, and Casey says that ending was the paradigm shift. Yes, the paradigm shift began with CM Punk returning about a month ago. And now it's continuing. And now it's just continuing with Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole tonight. I completely agree. Casey says CM Punk and Bryan Danielson to AEW in 2021 is the modern equivalent to Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage jumping ship to WCW back in 1994. That is facts right there. The only thing is WCW was never able to, carry that momentum on for a long period of time. right? There was you had the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, but it really feels like AEW is here to stay. It's not as much a war as it was during the Monday Night Wars, but this is a paradigm shift. This is a new era. AEW is taking over. And as long as Vince is in charge, AEW is going to run away. They're going to run away. And slowly as time goes on, more of the core fan base of wrestling fans is going to align with AEW. That's just the way it is. You're seeing it with me personally. Just look at me. I'm a lifelong WWE fan doing AEW reviews in 2021. I never would have thought that back in 2019. And here we are. I'm still a WWE fan, but I'm not going to sit here and deny the truth with the growth of AEW. Not going to say that. AEW is here, and they're here to stay. Right? I will say this one more time as I end the podcast. WWE is now the alternative to AEW. And All Out continue to make that clear tonight. But other than that, guys, thank you for everything. Thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the Legit Shoot podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you guys enjoyed All Out tonight. Let me know what was your favorite moment from the show. Let me know what got you hyped about the future, about AEW, man. So much to look forward to going to Dynamite this Wednesday. Man, this was a great show. So much to be excited about. Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Ruby Soho are now all elite. CM Punk is back. So much to look forward to going forward with AEW. So like I said, thank you guys so very much for joining me on the podcast. Man, leave a like on the video. For those of you guys who are watching, man, if you guys haven't already, leave a like, man, as we continue to grow, as we continue to move. Thank you guys for all the support. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by hitting the big red button right next to my name, Fitz TV. Also click the bell so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Thank you to everyone who live tweeted with me tonight. Follow me down on social media. My Twitter is down in the description below. As always, you guys are amazing. Hopefully I'll see you guys for the Monday Night Raw review. Hopefully Raw is decent enough to the point where I'll actually want to review the show. But we'll see. We'll see. But, as always, thank you guys for the love and support. Check out the SmackDown review if you guys haven't already. But I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.